You're listening to Biz-Souls, the business podcast with an edge, hosted by me, Rona Lewis, and Jeffrey Hansler. Tune in for perspectives and discoveries about the changing world of business. It's time to connect to the heart, soul, and humor of how business gets done. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler, and we get to the heart and soul of business and the people that make it happen.
Yeah, we have a really interesting guest today. This was someone who was introduced to me by, I guess, our mutual friend, Amy Gibson, who was on the podcast last year. She's the wig maven. And hi, Kelley.
Kelley, you don't look like you have a wig, and Rona, you don't look like you have a wig either.
There we go. We're just.
I have a wig.
She's a little wiggy though. So I'm gonna read your official introduction. Okay. Kelley Raleigh is an unschooling mother. You'll have to explain what that is. Intuition coach, certified brain trainer, and the founder of KINDbrain. She has had a soul-nourishing career as a director of various youth programs across the country and started as a family coach for teens/parents 20 years ago. She knows the challenges of new momness, feeling scattered and healing from traumatic events so she can thrive in life. What about when you don't have kids and you still feel scattered? What she has discovered since the inception of KINDbrain is that when people sustainably regulate their nervous system, their world profoundly changes. Anxiety and depression are not an issue. Relationships become easier. Focus and sleep are better. All of this makes it easier to navigate the modern world. Now, as a widow, Kelley is clear that her mission is to transform how we all view and heal from trauma and anxiety. She sees healing differently than most people, but is clear that we all can heal once we make a choice to. She is here to help you on that journey. Help us, Kelley!
So before we get into anything, what's the unschooling thing?
Yeah.
I do very non-traditional schooling. Since my child was born, I knew that I didn't really want to do the public school system and do iPads and do a certain agenda that schools like to focus on, which is they are in charge and the kids don't have like autonomy over their bodies. So we started doing forest schools, and like he's been climbing trees and building forts since he was 2, and I like to have, I guess, a little bit more control over what he's learning. And by that, I mean letting him kind of decide. This kid loves to learn. He's incredibly smart. He's 8. And I've never had to push anything. And so he starts cooking by himself. He knows how to, he's in charge of setting fires in our fireplace, or when we're camping. He's been given the respect enough to know how to use tools and figuring out what he wants to learn and then how to do it. And I just wanted to make that a priority growing up, so that he knew how to like listen to his body. Does something feel safe? Does he need help with something? And then how can he navigate it? And then, I'm hungry. I want to eat. I need to go to the bathroom now. I am in charge of my own body. And I can go to others that are smarter than me to ask for help or information. So it's kind of just a different kind of flip.
Very
yeah,
good.
That is really interesting. So is that homeschooling overall?
Kind of. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. And so I did all of this. I was in a co-op and we did everything for, 5 days a week. And then now I have to work more. So he goes to a place where it's kind of university style schooling. Cool. So we pick the classes. And he goes and he does that for a few hours a day, which he loves. I mean, he's a very social kid. Like, he's got 1 million friends. He's with a friend right now. Like, so those that say, like, well, what about socialization? Well, it's like he knows how. Like, I've never given him an iPad in a car, restaurant, like anything. He can handle any conversation, be in the world. So it's just a different way I don't pacify him. I let him be bored. I let him navigate the things and then participate, in conversations. And
which is actually
boundaries. I do not let him run. He does not run the house. This is not he's spoiled, and he knows how to respect things. He knows how to take things very seriously.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and I think that's, you mentioned the word boredom, and I think that's brilliant. There's all kinds of articles and conversations about how boredom actually facilitates creative thinking and innovation. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Even a lot of adults don't want to be bored. Like, it's like, well, no, I mean, I am guilty of that sometimes too. Like, I've got 30 minutes. Can I get the dishes done? And where can I be most efficient versus like, maybe I need to just sit here for a minute,
Yeah.
Right.
you know? And yeah, so.
So, all right. So, you want to ask your
Yeah.
question?
So, have you always wanted to get involved with training, coaching, consulting, helping people, or was it a health thing? You always wanted to help contribute to other people?
That's not your normal question.
Well, it's conversation is different, and
All right.
Kelly's different, so it's a slightly,
Fine. I like that. The other
you
guy's
know,
like,
I usually keep it
Trying
simple.
to
What'd you
change-
want to be when you grew up? So.
You can combine those.
I will answer that quickly because it's funny. I wanted to be either a politician or in the CIA, which if you know me now, you know that I'm not into any of those things at all. So it's just kind of funny. But when I was in college, I just kind of came upon, I was in a class and it was like, you could become a big sister. I was like, okay, great, I'll do that. And I was, taking poli-sci and history and all of that. And, working for a state Senate campaign and bartending. And I'm like, oh, but I really like this. And then my senior year of college, Big Brothers Big Sisters offered me a full-time position, like a career job, like starting my job early. And I was running like youth programs and matching bigs and littles through the public housing system and the University of Missouri where I went. And so I was already like mentoring college students, training them how to be a mentor themselves. I was already kind of doing that. And then a few years later, when I moved to Los Angeles, I got connected with, my late husband, with the spiritual community and this organization called Insight Seminars. And it's all heart-centered education. And so here I am working with teenagers again. And it just kind of became this thing of like, how do we teach the younger generation to take radical responsibility for their lives and their choices? And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Nice.
Yeah, especially in today's world, it seems people taking responsibility honestly and openly is a scarce item.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you fall into what is KINDbrain, and how did you get involved with that paraphernalia that you put on my head? I did a
Put it on
session.
your head.
Yeah.
So while I was
You're responsible for the change.
That's
Dorna.
right.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm here to help you, Jeffrey.
You've heard rumors.
Oh, we don't have that much time.
Yeah, I
That's
know
right.
exactly. Your equipment might break.
I was unschooling my kid. I was in the co-op, and there was a mom that was going to these biohacking conferences because her husband was in that world. And she was trying some things, and she was like, oh, I found this really great technology, because she knew that I didn't like, I don't like putting a lot of things in my body that are going to affect me negatively, whether it's food coloring, whether it's a bunch of crazy biohacking things, whatever. And so she was like, actually, I really liked this one. And it is completely passive. There's nothing going in your brain. There's nothing going in your body. It's literally just telling your brain, like showing it, this is what it's doing. What do you want to do about it? And then my brain chooses. Because I believe, and what I have studied is that our brains and bodies know how to heal and knows what it wants to do. We just need to kind of get the static out. So I tried it. I went to a brain trainer here, and I loved it. I did one session. My 2-year-old was with me, and he spilled something. It was not, I laid down and slept for 30 minutes. I was active and whatever, but doing the session, and I finished it, and I was like, oh, I feel like I've been in this meditation retreat that I go to every December. And I called my husband at the time, and I just said, this is something. And I had already started thinking about, I kind of want to get back into like seeing clients again, because again, I was just with my kid. And but I wanted to add something new, and this kind of became the thing. And I ended up buying a system within a couple of months after doing a few more sessions, because it was just changing the game for me and my husband. And so then I just went to all my friends. I'm like, hey guys, want to try it? Just let's try it. Let's do these things. And they're like referring people left and right, and like kids are getting better in school, and like just you name it. And I'm like, this is serious. Like this is really a big deal. I even had a friend who had a stroke and a brain tumor, and immediately his depression went away. He was starting to get, action back on his left side. It was just like, wow. So I created KINDbrain because you want to be kind to your brain.
So can I ask a hard question real quick?
Yes.
So in terms of why do you think people are liking this and going this route? Is it because one, they've lost the ability to do it on their own? Two, the technology's just available. It's something new. Three, it's easier than, learning how to meditate and control your mind.
Yes, kind of all of those. The technology's been around for over 20 years. It was created in Montreal by 2 clinical psychologists. So it's been around for a very long time. This is not just a couple of tech guys that thought it would be cool to try something new. It's number one. Number two, I do think people want a magic bullet. And this isn't even a magic bullet. This is not even a magic bullet. This is not even like one and you're done and now your life is perfect. I still do this on myself, and it's been 5 years. And it profoundly shifts how your nervous system can expand and handle the difficult things that come forward, because that's ultimately what we want to be able to do. We want to be resilient to the things. We don't want to just spiritual bypass or check out or just have things just be easy, because that's just not life. It's just not. I thought, okay, well,
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah,
it just goes like swimmingly.
It just continues. So the entire point of this is that we want to be able to handle those things with a lot more grace and healthier relationships and healthier dialogue than just forcing ourselves to learn how to meditate and then, we're not doing it. And then now I'm a failure because I can't get it and things are still a mess. You know what I mean? So it just helps from a biological perspective.
Very cool.
And when you're not using the machine, is there a prep for them? Do you coach them? Do you talk to them? You gather background?
I do, but you don't have to do that. That's just something that I add in because I have an intention setting exercise that I do with everybody when people work with me long term, but you don't have to do that. You could seriously just do the session like Rona did and still have an effect. Just
grab them off the street, throw them in the chair, strap them in, and hook them up.
Well, it's actually, it was like a half-hour meditation sort of thing. And it was really interesting because, you know what, Kelley, why don't you describe the process? Because you'll do it better than I would, certainly.
Yeah. So for NeurOptimal specifically, you have 2 sensors on your head and 3 on your ears. You're connected to a Surface laptop, which has the program on it. And you literally listen to music, this really beautiful soundscape music for 30 minutes. And there's skips in the music. So the sensors are picking up your current electrical activity on your brain. All of ours is changing just during this conversation, right? So it's just picking it up. And it's sending back the mathematical equation, the equivalent of a mirror, through the skips in the music. You're only going to hear maybe 1% of it because the skips are happening 256 times a second. So again, unlike any other kind of neurofeedback, this is happening in real time, where most others that are pushing your brain, you're not going to see a result for the next week or two because you don't know what just happened to your brain. So this is different because it's immediate, and your brain is now, quote unquote, looking in a mirror and seeing, okay, this is a mess right here. What do I want to do with it? I'm going to create a new neural pathway. I'm going to defrag. I'm going to organize. And so that's happening for 30 minutes. And because the brain gets to choose, it may not even want to do something with the information that it has in that moment. And because your brain is choosing, you're not going to have the side effects that you could have from something that's going to push a part of your brain that's not ready for the push. And so with that then, since it's connected to your nervous system, because everything is all connected, your nervous system is biologically going to start taking an edge off, because it's just like, okay, we're now releasing these things that are held in our fascia, all of this stress, we're now able to let it go in a different way than we were if I were to try to meditate or try to do a breath work and I wasn't fully getting into it. You don't have to do anything for this to work. So that's how it's easy.
So during the skips, sorry, I keep asking questions.
No, go ahead.
During the skips, so it skips so that there's no input going in. And what's the concept for the brain? The brain then is reaching out to pick up info, like something was going along, it was reaching out, or it's just, it gives it a pause. What does it do?
So the skips are literally the information, like it's like talking. It would be like the talking piece to the brain. So the brain is now, when it hears the skips, it's like, oh, that means that something shifted in the electrical activity, and what do I want to do with it now?
Okay.
So if I went from laughing to angry, that would be the shift, right? Like outwardly, you would be able to see that. But if I'm on the session, I don't need to go from happy to angry to get the brain to see a shift. Does that make sense?
So
then
go ahead.
So then it sees the shift, and then it chooses, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do anything with it right now. Maybe I'm tired, but the brain ultimately wants to avoid the pain. So it's going to start creating new neural pathways to create new patterns of resilience where you see your boss and you're now not like pissed off immediately.
So does the brain cause the skips, or the skips are there for the reaction for the brain? Like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
The change in the electrical activity of the brain is what's causing the skips.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Got it.
And is this been used with PTSD?
It's been used with everybody. It's
Okay.
been used across the. I actually have a baby that's a client. I've worked with elderly people with Alzheimer's, PTSD, trauma loops, OCD, severe anxiety, and just creatives, just people that are like, kind of want to like up my creative game. So you just need a brain.
May I ask why the baby is a client? What do the parents think? Obviously, the baby didn't walk in and say, hey, I want, scan me.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to vote. And can I drink?
And get a tattoo.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to do all of that. That's coming. That's in the next phase. The father had seizures when he was younger. And so they're kind of doing it as a preventative. They don't do it frequently.
Okay.
But that same father has come in. He's had a couple of concussions, like in the moment, and he's come in to see me and was like, I would have thought he was drunk. And within a few minutes on a session, all of the symptoms are gone. So they want to do kind of a preventative piece for the baby.
And what is he a skateboarder or is he a football player? Why does he have concussions?
No, one was surfing. What? One was surfing, and then one was just an accident. Like he just
it would probably do well for rugby players and football players for traumatic brain injuries. I would imagine that would help. I'm
a Minnesota Vikings fan, and the quarterback was Kirk Cousins is using NeurOptimal. So
very smart.
Yes,
very smart.
We're very proud of that.
So what's your favorite thing about it? It's like, what do you love most about doing this?
I love that it helps me. I mean, it really is kind of different every day. Do I want to be more focused today? I'm going to do a session while I'm doing my work. But I still have kind of a lot of stress going on in my life right now. And it helps me keep like the drama out. Like, the things you can say to yourself, the like, oh my God, like the world is ending. I don't have that because I've been doing this for a very long time, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to go into like a fatalistic kind of space with everything that I have going on. And so it's helping me just kind of keep all the plates in, moving at the same time gracefully. Like I don't feel like I'm crashing and burning, even though some things going on right now that I'm like, you would think that they are, but it's fine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So there is a little tension there. You've got something on your mind. Okay.
And I feel like, okay, I'm trusting the process. Like, all right, a few years ago, I would be spinning out. I just would,
Instead, you're on Biz-Souls.
That's right. There you go. So is there a suggestion amount of use? Do people use this every day? Should they use it once a week? Is there an average?
Is it addictive? What is the withdrawal symptom like?
What you start to twitch?
There's a little bit of twitching, but it's fine. if you're going, like, I had a woman who was going through a horribly traumatic divorce, and she was coming to see me twice a week. I've had people going through very acute things and they'll come every day for a few weeks. And then those that are just like, I have a CEO of a really big company here in LA, and he was coming once a week. And I was like, I come once or twice a month. Like, it just really, if you don't have the acute situation, like when my husband unexpectedly died, I definitely started using it a lot more frequently again. Sure. So it just really kind of depends on what's going on.
Well, you can, don't you have the ability to, you can rent the machines from you as well, right?
Yeah, that's a great segue. Yes.
That was a silky segue.
Oh, good. So even though I live in Los Angeles and I see people in person, most of my clients are outside of LA, or even if you are in LA, you can rent a system and use it for a month and your entire family can use it. And I show you how to do it. And your entire family could do a session every day if they wanted. It's unlimited sessions, and it's the easiest way for those people that can't get to me.
And is this the primary focus of your practice now? Is working with the...
Yeah.
Because we do it in my retreats as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. But it's all about, like, how do we expand our capacity to handle life? And that's with relaxing the nervous system. It's learning more about yourself. So the intention setting exercise is like looking at your limiting beliefs, like what's going on in there? Like, why do you think you can't do these things? Why haven't you hit your goals? And then how do we move through, like, letting that go from our bodies?
Right. We should both rent a machine for a week and each use it every day for a month. We could probably both use it.
I'd rather just have a cattle prod with you. Just neat. Not that you can believe everything on Facebook. Supposedly there's there's a woman who's doing retreats where the women, it's all for women. They go out into the forest and they just scream, and she's charging $4,000 for the week. Now, this has got to be a little more productive than that, I would hope. It's probably a little better for you.
Genius, good for her.
Yeah.
Second of all, my retreat's a little bit less expensive, and it's a lot more amazing than that. I guess if you want to go scream in the woods and that works for you. I mean, there's a value in getting rage out. Right?
Well, actually, no. It's they've done psychological studies, and hitting a pillow. You know how that was part of therapy for a while. Mm-hmm. Hit the pillow, scream at the pillow. That actually reinforces that bad behavior. So it's actually counterproductive. So them going screaming in the woods, they're just going to get better at screaming, theoretically. Now, Rona was reading an article this morning to me about that if people would surround themselves with things from the past, 20 years ago from the past.
Oh, there was a woman, a Harvard researcher, who did an experiment. I was actually listening to a podcast, and they were saying that she said that she had a bunch of men over 50 who were they were isolated and had things from their past, like 20 years earlier, DVD, movies, TV shows, magazines, things like that. And they could only talk about things from their past as if it was in the present moment. And they couldn't talk about, And she did that for a week, and their bio functions regress to that age.
In other words, they got younger.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, okay, so if you're touching into that age, sure, that makes sense. Those things were it was a lot more calming times. Like, look, I was born in 75. So I'm a child of, like, the neighborhood and the outdoors and, the simplicity of life. Mm-hmm. And obviously, before phones, like, it was a lot more calming. And I will agree, the modern society that we have right now is not conducive to the human body. Right. It's not conducive to families, and it's not conducive to, even if you want to be single, it's just, it's frenetic. Right. And so, and it's funny that you say that. When my late husband was doing these sessions, he would say, after every single session, I'm having a memory from childhood. I feel like that time in the neighborhood when I was like 6, riding the bike, and it was like, evening and the sun was setting. He would actually say that. So I actually think that's genius. And I think that's amazing. And I would go do that over the screaming in the woods, because there's a sweetness to it, which is what our retreats are. Like, it's simplicity. Let's go to bed early. Let's sleep in. Let's not rush. You have a pool, you have trees, we're doing everything outside. It's lovely.
I'm in.
Exactly. Get back to the loveliness of life and like
Right.
connection with people. And yes, we're processing, we're doing things, but it doesn't need to be harsh. We don't need to go, I'm going to say it, I'm sorry, but we don't need to go do ayahuasca and vomit and like have these like really big things come out to heal. I know people have had healing episodes with that, but like it doesn't have to be that.
I know people that have done it and have had change, not one iota, nothing changes. So,
And those are the people that are coming to see.
I don't think if you're ready for it, it doesn't happen, which gets back to what you're doing, which is you're letting the brain kind of work its own magic at its own pace.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's like forced fun.
Right.
Or, in play, you can't, you can lead a horse to water and they're going to do it or they're not. And I think, and you use this line all the time, our brains fool us all the time. And this way they can choose, the brain can choose what they want to do without needing to fool us and keep us safe because it knows what it needs, what it needs. And, I want to go back to that connection with people you were talking about. I definitely think, especially with the newer generation, that it's a lost art. I think anyone who is not a digital native is much better at connection than those who are.
But those are the same people that are going to say that they want a connection.
Right.
And they just now don't know how. And I don't say this to sound egotistical. I am very serious about my child not being stuck on an iPad. Look, he watches TV. You see a TV. I have a TV. I'm super serious about him being bored in the car. He sticks his head out the window sometimes. We listen to music. When we are out to eat, he is coloring or he's participating. I will not give him as a default to shut him up a screen so that he knows that he can now just check out, because his brain is going to be so addicted to that and then not be able to communicate like you're saying. And then he's going to want the connection but not know how to do it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's one of the trouble with our increasingly quickly rising tech. It's we're going to end. I always say we're going to end up being. Do you remember the movie WALL-E, where all the humans are fat and in like the little eggs that are all separate? We don't know how to talk to each other.
I know,
which is a shame.
Or do anything.
Anyway,
I'm trying to get a handle. I'm trying to get a handle on it. I mean, I was much of a loner as a kid, so I didn't have the iPad. Had I had an iPad or something, I would have been probably on it. Instead, I was out in the backyard digging in the garden and making streams and little bridges and stuff like that, So,
fantastic.
Are they the same or are they different? I mean, it's just different sort of creativity or different sort of fantasy. So I don't know on if we take the whole generation and say, well, they have difficulty with it. I think we do have difficulty.
Well,
by the way,
if you look at the rise in anxiety and suicide rates in teenagers and the bullying that is vastly different than if you went to school. So you now have something that's actually a dopamine hit when you're on the phone. We all know it. We all experience it because we're on it. So my son would also be digging and making the streams. I think that's amazing that you had that childhood, because that's a physical, eye-hand coordination development that's going to like enhance your brain activity very differently in a properly developmentally aged process. And so even if you were alone, like that's still like a really good thing to do, even if you weren't interacting,
And he still likes to play in the dirt.
I do. I do like to play in the dirt. And
he gardens a lot.
When you're talking about the 50 study, the men over 50, I was thinking, I'm not over 50. And then you said, men over 50 are isolated. I'm going, well, that's pretty true.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I'm like, wait, you are over 50.
I know. I don't associate with it.
Okay. I mean, I'm over 50 for crying out loud.
I don't blame you. I don't either. And I'm not over 50.
Exactly.
Anyway,
all right.
So, yeah.
Tips.
So, well,
how do we get to there?
What so okay, so your business is very different than what I have seen. I don't know how many of these machines are out there. If you seem to be on the cutting edge of helping to improve the brain. What would you recommend for other people who are interested in this sort of arena to get information?
There are brain trainers all around the world. There's a few thousand of us.
Okay.
So not everybody that has a system uses it as a business, but there are a bunch of me. I'm just in Los Angeles, and I've added an additional component that most people do. Psychiatrists have it. I have chiropractors that send people to me. OTs use it, because again, if it's going to just relax the nervous system, whoever is going to do whatever kind of work on somebody, you can get in there deeper, really. They can go to thekindbrain.com and they can reach out to me, and I can help them in, a myriad of ways. If they're out of the country, I could find a brain trainer for them in another country. And NeurOptimal.com is where you go to read all about, the white papers, the founders, the creators, what they're doing. And it's not about a quick fix. It's about really sustainably being intentional with your life. And when we get intentional with our lives and we choose to heal, whatever the healing is, your life can change. And it's not about something being wrong with your life. It's I just want to improve. I just want to have better relationships, or, change a job and a career, whatever it is. It's the stagnation and then the modern society, I think, that kind of gets people stuck. And so if this can move the energy, and even if you don't have big trauma, it's still good to continue learning, continue figuring out how to have better dialogue between the important people in your life.
Yeah. I just think society at large gives us trauma. It's
right, because most people are projecting all of their things onto other people, right, and they're not handling their own stuff. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
And so then it's this cycle, and then it's stop.
Right.
Just
right.
come and let me work on you.
Right. Society
come
doesn't hold a candle to what I have to deal with Rona.
It's a curse. It's a curse.
Yes,
so
you do that.
Yes, I do. She's amazing. How do we?
Here's $1. Thank you.
How do they get a hold of you? What are all the ways to get a hold of you?
I'm on Instagram, kind.brain, thekindbrain.com, Kelley at thekindbrain.com, Kelley.
Yes. Excellent.
LinkedIn as well, I'm sure.
LinkedIn would be under my name, Kelley Raleigh.
Okay.
Raleigh, Carolina.
Okay.
Reach out.
Fantastic.
Well, this has
outstanding.
This has been great. I was very impressed with mine. I will probably come up for more eventually when I find time and a little extra for a package. We'll figure something out.
Can I say something to that? Everybody thinks, and I do this myself, everybody thinks you need to find time to do it. And it's maybe this is the big rock. Maybe this is the big rock that you put in so that you ultimately have more time for everything that you want. Just an idea.
That's a great way of
looking at it. That's a great idea. She did short out her computer after she was with a session with you, though.
I actually did. I had to take it to because my energy. I mean, I'm the type. I've always pop lights, and just my energy is really big. And my computer, literally, I went to plug in an external hard drive, and it just powered down, and it ended up that the sleep mode was on it. It evidently had some sort of virus or something, and they fixed it. And then I bought McAfee with another layer, and so it's fine. But it was just bizarre because right after that, and I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. And I'm a Reiki master, and I'm like, this is much more than that.
Totally unrelated, not causal, not consequential, just unrelated. Okay.
Anyway, all right. Thank you, Kelley. This was it's been so enlightening, and I'm really impressed with what you're doing. So thank you for bringing this into the LA area because I definitely think it's very needed. And that I guess that's it. That's it for us. I'm Rona Lewis.
Thank you,
Kelley. Any final comment?
Oh yes, we should ask that. Any last words?
Be gentle with yourself.
Okay.
That's what I want
no,
to
really.
Yeah, be gentle with yourself and others.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yes.
Others
actually, excellent.
Yeah.
and especially in today's world. Give people a lot of grace.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Wonderful, Kelley.
Thank you. All right. Once again, I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler.
And this has been Biz-Souls.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Biz-Souls Podcast with your hosts, Rona Lewis and Jeffrey Hansler. Did you have fun? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Talk to you next week.